because those people can interfere with the evidence that we need. Those people can make sure that we don't get the documents that we need. That person can deal with any person who wants to be a witness to what has happened. So any person who is in office that we are at the same time investigating, it becomes very difficult.
At
Whether
that
they're
point,
at the lower level or at the highest level.
At that point, those persons holding office are seated here today.
Yes.
His Excellency the President, the Deputy President, Cabinet Secretaries, Governors are seated here today.
Right.
What would you tell them that we need or they need to stop doing so that it's easy for you? Very simple question. Speak to them directly.
I think I have already said. The first thing to each and every one of us sitting here, including those who are here on the platform, we must recognize that the resource.
A very senior officer in one of the neighboring countries resigned because, actually a vice president, because he asked for constitutional reforms and his president was not too happy. I don't think professor will resign for making any comments in this country. Another neighboring country is in the midst of a constitutional crisis right now. The term for the government is over. They don't know what to do. They're struggling. In another one, they're trying to move from a federal to a unitary and a presidential. To the west, if you say so must go, they'll ask you go where. They have been there for 50 years almost right now. The first set of rights the first set of rights are called first generation rights, political rights. In this country, we have no issue with political rights. We have a lot of political rights. That is something we have banked. We are moving to second generation rights, which the president was talking about earlier, which is economic and socio-economic rights essentially. The rights to health, the rights to housing, the rights that make, the first rights are about keeping the government away, keeping the state away. The second rights are asking the state to do what it's supposed to do. That's where we are. The fact that we have moved from the first to the second, where those of us who are alive when Mzee Moi was there, or when these other rights were not there, it was a completely different environment. And so things that many people take for granted right now, it took a lot of effort. If you listened, and I agree with the chair of the Human Rights Commission, if you listen to the president's speech today, I don't think Mwalimu can imagine Mzee Kenyatta one giving that speech, or Mzee Moi giving that speech, or many places that speech being given by a head of state. The language of that speech is the language of human rights. That is not possible in many places. And those are things we should not take for granted. And as we move to the second generation rights, I think we should be very proud as a country of what we have achieved and where we're heading to. Okay. In terms of the challenges, we have very many challenges. The Constitution has accountability devices that were put there to hold high state officials accountable. Impeachment was one of them. We did the impeachment of a deputy president, and we had a lot of problems with the judiciary because the judiciary failed to understand that that's not their role. That's a political accountability function where the judiciary has no role, in my opinion. And they injected themselves into that process and messed things, if you ask me. The second is recall of MPs. Recall of MPs. MPs, the public has a right to call the MPs. Not one MP has been recalled because Parliament made it so difficult for members of Parliament to be recalled that it's not happened in 16 years.
Sure.
It's highly unlikely to happen with the setup that act has given. In terms of the JSC, I don't think the JSC has worked because our judiciary is supposed to be accountable. The executive can't hold it accountable. Parliament can't hold it accountable. There's a mechanism that was set to allow the JSC to hold it accountable. The JSC has abdicated that role. And the JSC needs to come back to that function because they have made it very easy for a judicial officer to say, we're putting an injunction, you're not going to do your work. That really is not how the Katiba is supposed to work.
Right.
And in terms of vetting, I said, we hold vetting every time there's a new state officer, but rarely do we see that vetting being useful. So there are quite a number of challenges, but I'm very proud of where we are, and I'm very proud on the second generation journey that the president has put us on. And I think it's not a finished project. It is a project we should be proud of. When we were doing this Katiba, the last bit, we were coming from a very difficult place as a country. And just delivering it as a national project alone was very important. And the difficulty with which all the surrounding countries are finding delivering a constitutional foundation like we did should really tell us that we should be very proud as a country.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abdikadir. Reverend Kabiru.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and all protocols observed. We must appreciate that indeed, as a country, we have come a long way. There are 16 years from where I sit as a church leader. Of course, we must appreciate the effect of devolution within our country and how that has really changed the local appearance within our counties. The public participation is a great thing that must be celebrated and basically strengthened. How do you ensure that the public feel each one of them is part and parcel of the progress, and basically the decisions that are made at whatever level, that becomes critical. Now, when we come to the establishment of the commissions that are actually established by the Constitution 2010, again, we see there is a lot of connection where the public are able to connect depending with the needs that probably are coming up. But I must say that it is very clear the commissions that are very well known by Kenyans at this particular time are the ones that actually carries, especially the political agenda. They are the ones that are actually very well known. They are those that many Kenyans will not tell, will not actually associate with. And I think it is important then for us to ask ourselves, this being work in progress, because the Constitution is basically work in progress. There is a lot that continues to be done. There are commissions that continues to be formed as to help in terms of implementation. We also need then to go further and say the much the Constitution is work in progress, the civic education about that Constitution also need to be a continuous work so that the Kenyans can be able to build that trust. They can also be able to relate. We are talking of 16 years, so a person who was born can now be able to relate with that actual Constitution at 16 years. So that becomes critical, basically for us even going forward to think how do we move towards that direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Christine.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, all protocol observed. I must say, I want to say thank you for giving civil society a space in this conversation today, and particularly Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA. Speaking as an advocate, I want to say this constitution, for me, I can describe it in three ways. It's progressive, it's transformative, and it's pro-people. The women and girls in Kenya, I must say we've achieved notable milestones under the last 16 years in the constitution, under three areas which I want to just discuss very briefly. One, under leadership, the second one under social rights, and the third one under legal protection. Under legal protection, I want to say there have been very many statutes that have been developed and eventually have been passed by Parliament under the Article 27 of the Constitution. One of them is the prohibition of female genital mutilation act.
Christine, allow us to check your mic, please. Thank you. Still not functioning.
The point I was trying to make was the issue of legal. I was trying to bring out the number of statutes that have been passed in the last 16 years in terms of women and girls in Kenya. And there have been many. The Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act, the Matrimonial Property Act, the Marriage Act, the Protection Against Domestic Violence Act. those are achieved notable milestones in terms of legal protection for women and girls. However, there have been various challenges in terms of legal protection. One of them, Your Excellency, is the issue of femicide. No woman or girl in this country feels safe anymore. The femicide has increased to an issue where we are calling upon you, Your Excellency, to declare this a national crisis. We have seen there was the presidential task force that addressed it. A report was presented to you. We haven't seen any implementation being done, so we're kind of requesting if implementation can be done. In terms of celebrating Katiba 16, we know that there have been the issue of two-thirds gender rule, whereby we are saying that the lack of implementation of the not more than two-thirds gender rule in elective and appointive bodies has not yet been implemented, despite Article 27.8 being very clear on it. Because I may not get any more time, I want to just give my suggestions on way forward in terms of what perhaps we feel as advocates ought to be done. We feel that IEBC needs to come out strong and empower itself in terms of strict enforcement during party nominations. We are 1 year to elections. IEBC is empowered and directed by the courts to reject any political party that has not complied with the two-thirds gender rule. This alone will send a very loud message to political parties who are also here. We also want to say that political party funding needs to be restructured, and the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties also needs to make sure that these political parties also are very deliberate on the two-thirds gender rule and can constrict the funding, because this has to happen. Right. So I want to say, in terms of Katiba 16, a lot has been done, but there's a lot of unfinished business and gaps. Right. We want to say that there has been a lot of resource constraints addressing issues of gender-based violence, and then inadequate funding towards this thematic area.